Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final live session of this year's ELTons Festival of Innovation. My name is Jenny Woodman. I am part of the British Council ELTons team, who have been responsible for organising all the sessions today, and I am delighted to be with you for the last session of the day. And I have been here, believe it or not, since the first session of the day. So I will just start by asking the audience, is this your first session of the festival? Or have you already been attending some sessions already today? Are you joining us for the first session, or is this already a few sessions in for you today? Let me know in the chat. Fourth session for someone. You've attended them all. Oh my goodness. That's even more than me. Third session, fifth session, many sessions, many sessions. Oh, great. Well, I'm glad that you have enjoyed your festival experience today, or I hope you have enjoyed your festival experience today. We have loved being here with you. And I'm really, really pleased to be introducing to you today Lydia Quansah, who is a teacher who has been working with international schools in Ghana. She has 15 years of experience of teaching English. And not only that, she is joining us today as the British Council Action Research Grant recipient, who has been using that grant to research teacher training and fostering learner engagement. And that is what she is here to talk to us about today. So without further ado, I will hand over to Lydia, who is going to be talking to us about how to maximise online professional development for teachers. Thank you. I'll hand over to you, Lydia.
From Accra, Ghana. I am quite privileged. It is an honor to spend some time with you at the ELTons this year. As Ms. Woodman indicated, I will be talking to you about how to maximize online professional development for teachers. Since the ELTons is about innovation, I will encourage everyone, if you do get a chance to conduct action research, it is one of the many ways that as educators, we can innovate and then look at improving our work within our field. So action research grants recipient last year, and I am happy to share with you some of the findings from our research over the course of the year. I will start by issuing a strong disclaimer that I am in no way an expert in online professional development. However, through the generosity of the British Council and its Action Research Grants Program, and also due to the guidance and counsel of our Action Research mentors, Kathleen O'Hare and Serene Sayers, I was guided to conduct action research in maximizing online professional development for teachers. And this presentation is this presentation is the findings that we had during the process of the action research into how we can improve professional development in our schools. So I'm here to share a few strategies that were unearthed during the research. I will begin by giving a little context into why the research was conducted. And it was mainly because there was perceived dissatisfaction with professional development programs within our schools. Several questions were asked about how we can improve our professional development programs. One of them is what types of training programs were relevant and appealing to our teachers, and whether online professional development was an option for teachers, and what cost-effective online professional development programs were available and could be utilized within our context. And then, of course, what challenges or barriers might impact the success or otherwise of online professional development programs within our field. Our main focus in asking all these questions was, how do we ensure there is consistent knowledge transfer after the professional development? What we were asking was that, or what we realized was that teachers were given training on a particular aspect of their work, for example, differentiation, and after the training during evaluation of classes or lessons, most of the knowledge that we would expect to have transferred from the program into the classrooms were not occurring or wasn't as consistent as we would have hoped it to be. So we asked ourselves that how can we ensure the effectiveness of online professional development, or how could we maximize the effectiveness of online professional development? And that was what informed the research in the first place. In the next slide, I will indicate some of the strategies that were unearthed based on the research that was undertaken. These are the 5 practical strategies that the presentation today is going to focus on. Of course, there were a number of findings, and then we had to take certain actions to ensure that online professional development was effective. But for the purpose of today's presentation, I'm going to focus on 5 practical strategies that may prove helpful because it did work for us within our context. Before I begin the first strategy, let me draw your attention to the chart at the bottom of this slide. As part of the research, or part of the research tools that we used was a questionnaire, and we asked teachers at the beginning of the program what positive impact they had observed on their students based on the research or based on the professional development programs that we had engaged in so far. And as you can see, the results were not as high or were not as impactful as we would have liked. Please take note of this chart. At the end of the presentation, I will show you another chart after the research. When we asked a similar question, the results that we got. Okay, so the first strategy that I would like to focus on this evening is exploring free or cost-effective options for professional development. And the reason why this was key for us as an institution was that we had budgetary constraints. We didn't have enough money allocated for professional development as we would have liked as a small school. So while maintaining standards, while ensuring that we are giving our teachers credible or accredited training, we had to also ensure that we were given cost-effective options as well. And as part of the British Council Partner Schools, one of the resources that was available to us was the British Council Online Support for Schools platform, the OSS platform. I don't know how many of us on the webinar today have access to the OSS platform and how many of us are using it. But because we were looking for budget-friendly training for our teachers, we had to fall on, or we could fall on, the British Council OSS platform. So I'll ask the audience in the poll currently, what free or cost-effective professional development programs, online professional development programs, are you able to access? Okay, can we have the results, please? Okay, it appears that 100% of our audience has access to free or cost-effective online professional development platforms. If we could have some options or some examples or some samples, that would be useful. If we could share the options that are available with the audience, that would be helpful. Okay, on the next slide, we go to strategy 2 that we were able to. Okay. The next strategy that this research was able to unearth was incorporating teacher preferences and needs in training programs. That is aligning training with teacher needs and interests. This part is quite interesting for us because yes, as an institution or as middle managers or senior managers, we believe we understand what our organization needs. We believe we understand what would improve or propel our institutions forward. However, during the research, one finding that was quite interesting for us was that teachers would, of course, like to be asked, okay, what training programs they would be interested in, what training programs they would like to have, or what training programs they believe will improve their practice within their classrooms. So because of the findings of the research, we came up with this triangular approach where we didn't just focus on school needs or student needs, but we ensured that in planning professional development programs for our institution, we did look at school needs, we looked at student needs, but one key pillar of our professional development programs currently is teacher needs or preferences. So now before we roll out any professional development program, we ensure that we have incorporated teacher preferences before we begin. On the slide, you'll see again from the questionnaire, some of the preferences that teachers were looking at in terms of training programs. Some would want how to understand learners. Some would want to understand how to differentiate lessons, how to use technology within their learning. Some teachers were asking for teacher well-being and welfare, so some sort of work-life balance of teachers. And that was one key missing aspect of our training programs that we had to incorporate after the findings of the research. Okay. Can we have the next poll, please? We would like to know what challenges do you encounter in online professional development programs? Okay, shall we have the results now? Okay, if the audience can see the results of the poll, yes, initially, when we began the research, we were also of the erroneous view that access to reliable internet and technology was going to be the #1 challenge for our teachers. But as it turned out, time management and scheduling conflicts was the highest challenge for us as well. So we had to come up with innovative ways of still using online professional development using the British Council OSS platform and still ensuring that our teachers were getting the maximum benefit from online professional development programs. So yes, thank you for that. As I have indicated, time management scheduling conflicts was our #1 challenge. Because of that, we assessed our teacher needs and then had to develop 2 main pathways for accessing online professional development, and that was our strategy 3. What we realized was that some teachers were quite comfortable with self-paced individual model, which basically is the regular online professional development program. You enroll, and then at your own time, at your own pace, you can access the platform, which is available for the British Council OSS platform that we used. However, because of scheduling conflicts and time management issues, we had to also develop another model, which we called the structured hybrid collective model. Now, what this simply means is that we will enroll our teachers on the British Council OSS platform. However, we will organize a structured program for all teachers. So again, the picture that you've seen on our screen was some of our teachers engaging in online professional development as a group. So instead of putting our teachers on the self-paced individual model, which we did for those who could access it, we also offered another option, an alternative option, where concurrently we will schedule in the course of a term 2 programs where we'll gather teachers and they will still access the British Council online support for schools platform, but as a group. And this worked quite well for us because we realized that while interacting with the online professional development program, they could still interact amongst themselves, learn, engage, ask questions, while still being on the platform. So I wanted to know in another poll, what do you think? Which approach would you prefer if you're using this already or if you're not? The self-paced individual approach or the structured collective approach? Okay, if we could have the results. I find this quite interesting, and I'm sure my teachers would also be quite happy with the results we're getting here. So most of our teachers opted for both. So they loved to have the option of the flexibility of a self-paced individual approach, but also enjoyed the structured approach where that ensured there were no scheduling conflicts, and also there were constant reminders that you do have a program on this day, so please make your way to the conference room or wherever we're having the professional development program. And this worked quite well for us. So I'm quite happy that our audience also agrees with this. Okay, the 4th strategy that we managed to use based on the results of the research was providing hands-on practical learning opportunities as follow-up sessions after our training. Again, during the questionnaire that we gave out, most of our teachers indicated that, yes, they had undergone the training, yes, they had learned the material. However, they wanted the opportunity to enter the classrooms in a very structured way as follow-up sessions where they'll be given real-life scenarios for them to practice what they had learned. So instead of just throwing them back in the classroom, so to speak, and then evaluating them on what had been taught or learned during the program, they would appreciate some sort of buffer in between, where after the program, a follow-up session on what was taught was given in a real-life scenario, and they could practicalize what they had learned before they were evaluated on that. And this worked quite well because it's sort of moves into our 4th strategy. We asked teachers what sort of practical opportunities they were asking for, and they came up with a very beautiful method for doing that. So that should take us to the 5th strategy. which was teacher involvement in implementing structured follow-up and evaluation. Again, right from the beginning, where I indicated that what the research taught us was we had to do some sort of needs analysis of our teachers and not just students and the institution to develop training programs for our teachers. At the end of the research, the findings also indicated that teachers wanted to be involved in the evaluation of the training and not only a top-down approach to evaluation, but they wanted to create the instruments for evaluation themselves based on the training they had undergone, and then also conduct some sort of peer observation process where they would evaluate each other first before senior managers or middle level managers would come in for evaluation. And the form that you see on the slide was a very interesting resource that has been developed within the school. And this was developed by teachers based on a British Council OSS platform training on how to manage classroom behavior. It was a very exciting session. Teachers were very engaged. And after the session, they came up with 5 main areas for ensuring that teachers were implementing what they had been taught within the classrooms. Very simple instrument, and teachers used this to peer observe each other and gave feedback on their practice within the classrooms. And this is something that has been ongoing. So after any training, teachers would come up with the evaluation instrument, and then they will peer observe each other. Now, based on this strategy, or these strategies, I'd like to ask, how do you maximize online professional development within your institutions? Shall we have the results now, please? Okay. Again, it appears that I'm getting 100% answered, but I don't have the answers here now. If it can be put in the chat, is that possible, so that we could read out some of the answers from there? But while we're doing that, I indicated at the beginning of the presentation that we asked in the questionnaire the impact of online professional development at the beginning of the research, at the beginning of the exploration, how teachers were maximizing online professional development within the school and general professional development within the school as well. And we had very average results, so to speak. Now, after the research, after we had gone through the strategies that I've just shared with you, we did another questionnaire. We gave out another questionnaire, and as you can see, we had 100% results from the teachers who engaged in the research and in terms of how they were maximizing online professional development programs. So I would like to hear from you if you have any questions, if you like further explanation on anything, or if you have any comments on how you maximize online professional development. I'd like to hear your voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. That was really, really succinct and informative, and I think has got everyone thinking about online professional development, what they enjoy, what they get the most out of, and how they evaluate it as well. So thank you. I do have one question here. So what effective online platforms or resources would you recommend using to train and improve more practical skills, such as classroom management skills? So I don't know if you have any recommendations there, or any strategies as well for practical skills like classroom management skills.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. As I have been indicating throughout the presentation, the first platform that would be a go-to for us is the British Council Online Support for Schools platform. We were quite surprised at the variety and sheer number of resources that were available to us once we started utilizing it effectively. So classroom management, English language teaching, technology use, current trends in education, all these resources are available. So if you do have access to the British Council Online Support for Schools platform, I will encourage you to explore it in some depth, and you realize that everything or almost everything you need for your classroom improvement is available. Beyond that, I think other resources or other ways to practicalize what you learn in online professional development. For me, I will advocate the follow-up session and real life scenario use. So after the online professional development training, please don't just assume that teachers have garnered the skills needed. Offer some practical real life scenarios where teachers can practice the skills learned. And this has proven quite useful for us.
Thank you, Lydia. That's brilliant.
Any other questions?
Well, we do have some people who are very keen to have your evaluation paper that you shared on the slide. I don't know if that would be possible as a follow-up. We'll see with Lydia, but certainly people are really, really interested in having some kind of evaluation template, and that is definitely something that they've seen as really useful. I think I should say as well to the audience, we have Lydia, a picture of Lydia with us just to keep her internet connection stable so that she can stay with us to answer your questions. We are seeing some really interesting comments coming through as well, though, and I might share some of those. So we do have a really interesting comment here about working with colleagues on pathways. So usually working with colleagues to actually agree teaching practices and actually then feed back to colleagues. So peer on peer feedback as well as part of the professional development process, which is quite interesting. So I don't know if you wanted to say anything about how teams can work together to support one another with peer on peer feedback or constructively feeding back to teachers within their own network. That might be something that we can explore.
Yes, as I indicated earlier in the presentation, we found peer observation or peer-on-peer feedback the most effective way to help teachers transmit their knowledge from training. What we realized was that when peers were observing or giving feedback, it was more constructive rather than punitive, so to speak. So when we had teams working together, teams who had undergone the training together, coming back to develop a real life scenario to practicalize the experience, and then evaluating themselves based on the training that they had undergone, we got some incredible results, as I shared with you. So initially, before the research, we were having mostly top-down observation or senior level observation, and we realized that most teachers may be a little bit defensive as they feel they are being critiqued or criticized in their work or in their classrooms. But when you have peer observations or peer-on-peer feedback, most teachers were more susceptible, or they were more receptive of the feedback that was given. So yes, that worked quite well for us.
That's great. Thank you, Lydia. And we do also have a question about your full research that has been done as part of the British Council Action Research Grant. A question about where our viewers would be able to access that in the future if they'd like to find out more about your research.
This is quite exciting for us, and I'm excited and happy to share that on the 7th of December, we will be launching the research publications with the British Council. So not just my research, but 11 other researchers who were part of the pilot program for Action Grant Research. the publications from that is going to be launched, and you get the chance to, you have access to all the publications. During the launch, I believe there's going to be some live sessions where all 12 speakers will be available to share their research and answer any questions that you may have. So I will encourage you, if you are interested in getting the publication, to join the program on the 7th of December. I'm sure that if you visit the British Council website, you will have access to that information. So please, yes, do join on the 7th of December.
Great. That is another date for everyone's diaries. And I know that we have some very, very active and engaged participants who have been with us throughout the ELTons Festival, who I'm sure would love to engage with future sessions on research from colleagues, and also on the topic of professional development and maximising professional development as well. So I'm just going to give everyone a minute or so more to share any final questions that they might have with Lydia or with the team here about how they can maximise their online professional development. Hopefully today has been an opportunity to do that as well. We've had, I think, 18 sessions altogether throughout the day. It has really been a marathon, but it has also been great fun, and we've had some fantastic speakers like Lydia sharing their insights with us, which has been really wonderful. I will say that for anyone who is getting a little bit tired or fatigued towards the end, if they were staying in all the sessions, the recordings are going to be available for another week on this platform afterwards. So if you really enjoyed it, you can come back for another week and see more of the sessions, or go and catch a bit that you missed potentially as well, which is a really positive thing, to give everyone a little bit more time to access all this great content. Okay, I'm having another quick look through the chat to see if there are any final questions I've missed. There is a link in the chat to the event on the 7th of December that Lydia mentioned earlier, but I can't see any more questions. Brilliant, lots of thank yous. Well, thank you very much as well. This wouldn't be possible without an audience as engaged and as brilliant as you have been throughout the day, and in this session as well. So thank you very much as well for attending the festival. We've had a brilliant experience running it. It's the first year that we've done the ELTons Festival of Innovation, but I certainly hope after this it won't be the last.